Yo, what's poppin', guys? Sizzle here, and with the release of Operation Riptide, a lot of the original CSGO collections have been replaced with a 2021 version, meaning that the original collection I don't think drops anymore, and I don't know if there's really any way to get them other than maybe some like souvenir packages. Yeah, today we're covering the original Train collection. So first things first, we have the Nova Polar Mesh, and despite this being one of the first kind of sets of skins, we haven't seen too many skins like this. It's got a very unique design with these really large stripes of white and like a blackish gray coming across the whole weapon. For some reason, it is the pattern of a chain link fence across the entire weapon. And despite being a factory new skin, there's still a ton of scratches, although they're in a kind of hidden spots where you kind of wouldn't see them anyway, such as between all these lines that you can see at the front of the weapon. You can kind of see some scratches here. There's some pretty noticeable ones by the scope, but they actually end up scratching almost a bit white in the right lighting. And in the wrong lighting, you don't even see them really because they're the same color as the black of that part of the weapon. And there are definitely some noticeable ones right here in the middle and right at the end of the weapon, but you're really rarely going to see those, surprisingly, because this kind of skin design does a really good job covering them. Now, the unfortunate part for me is I don't think this exact pattern fits the Nova very well. I think this works on a lot of weapons. I'd actually really love to see this on like an AWP. I think it would look sick as fuck. But on the Nova, it's not phenomenal. Definitely not bad though. It's very, very unique. I don't see too many skins that look like this despite its simplistic pattern. So I'm gonna put this thing up in the C tier. I think it can easily kind of hold its own there. It's a kind of solid skin you can't really go wrong with. Next up, we have the Dual Berettas Colony, which are clean as fuck. This is barely factoring in. This is .069, so this is pretty poorly like conditions as far as fact new skin goes. And I don't see any scratches. Like you really, if you stare very closely, you'll see like the small line right here. But you're not gonna see that in play. You're not really gonna see any of the scratches that might exist somewhere on this weapon. And it's just very clean. I don't really see any kind of wear or tear on this. It looks like it just came, just came out of the factory. That's the name factory new, which you don't really see on too many factory new skins, weirdly enough. The one problem this does have, though, is the color scheme. Now, this is very cool what they did with the black kind of outline covering all the default colors of the weapon. And it's nice that they have one solid color covering the main part of the weapon, but the use of this tannish green makes it kind of blend in almost with all the camo skins that use the exact same color scheme. Despite it definitely having a very just simplistic and not almost non-existent design, just kind of being a color change, it's the colors that kind of ruin it for me because the colors just look like most of the low tier skins do. So I can't really rank this that high. It's definitely not an F tier skin. Like I said, they're very clean, so I'm gonna put them in the D tier for now. Next up, we have the PP-Bizon Urban Dash, and yeah, I don't know what to say about this thing. It kind of has like a snowy ash base coloring, and then for some reason they thought the skin didn't look bad enough already, so they decided to add all these random black marker marks all over the place. And despite this being fact new, it has a shit ton of scratches all over. Some in the front here, top here, middle here, more in the middle, more in the bottom, and a lot on the back part of the weapon. It's a whole mess. It's really scratched up, and the base design is fucking atrocious. I'd rather be using stock 10 times out of 10. Easy F tier. I don't even have anything else to say. It's just an easy F tier. And then next up, we have the 5/7 Forest Knight, which, if you look at the color scheme, the rest of this collection is very unique. But in terms of its design, it's basic camo pattern, but with a blue, dark blue coloring, which I love the blue, dark blue coloring, so I'm going to rate it a bit higher for that. And I do like how I can't see any noticeable scratches, despite this barely being factory new. Maybe this is a scratch, but it honestly looks like it'd be part of the pattern, so I don't know. Um, and yeah, I mean it's not bad looking at all. It's got a very unique color scheme, very different from stock and a lot of the other skins. So I'm gonna have to put it relatively high, either high D tier, low C tier. I'm gonna go low C tier for now, but I might move that down later. It's a pretty decent skin, just a basic camo skin with a nice color scheme. That's really all there is to it. Then we have the UMP Urban DD Pat, which, yeah, It uses the common DD-Pat design that a lot of people really seem to like, but instead of being like pink or purple or even red, like the new red DD-Pat M4 is, it's white. I guess that's what urban's supposed to mean. It's got like a white backing with some gray pixelation over it. And I don't really even like the base design of the DD-Pads. I don't see what people see in them. To me, they look like a worse version of the camo skins because at least with the camos, they're like nice curved designs, kind of like smoothly work together. This stuff, it just looks like a mess. I don't really know what the DD-Pad design ever really goes for. And this color scheme is not helping. It looks generic as all hell. And on top of that, it doesn't even cover the weapon. This whole massive mag here, the handle, the bottom part here, just all aren't used by the design. And this back stock, while it definitely was changed to white, if the UMP itself isn't white, I kind of forget what the stock UMP looks like. It doesn't go with the rest of the design anyway. So this weapon skin is not only incomplete, in my opinion, it looks bad. So I'm actually gonna put it below the Bizon because even though the Bizon is definitely worse than stock, I think this is still worse than the Bizon. It's incomplete and bad. At least the Bizon was a complete skin. Next up, we have the G3 SG Polar Camo, which has the exact same color scheme. For some reason, everything except the mag right here has been applied with the skin. Not sure why they cut out the mag, but it's just your generic camo skin. But instead of the usual green, it's white and black, which for me debatably looks worse. Because the whole point of a camo skin is it's supposed to kind of blend in with its surroundings and be a lot harder to spot, which I think dark blue does pretty well, and so does tan, and so does the default green. But I think white sticks out like a sore thumb unless you're on like that new snow map they added. Then maybe this thing isn't visible, but otherwise it sticks out like a sore thumb, which kind of ruins the whole point of a camo design, and camo designs are already super uninspired and just kind of bad in my opinion. So I'm going to put this top of F tier. It's still a bit better than stock, but I wouldn't consider ever really picking this thing up unless it's for like a trade up maybe. And yeah, next up we have the P90 Ash Wood, which is our first like super unique design. I'm surprised they had something like this in earlier CS. But you can see kind of some branches of white and black branches going across the weapon, and it's got a very ashy color scheme as the design suggests. But otherwise, it got the same problem that a lot of P90 skins have, super scratched up in the front despite being very factory new. A lot of scratches up in the front here, the bottom here, the stock here, and a ton on the top. I don't know what happened up there. But yeah, it's weirdly just scratched up. Um, the branches, I guess, are kind of unique, but they're almost impossible to spot unless you really look at this thing. Otherwise, it just kind of looks like an ashy P90, which I guess is a bit better than stock, but otherwise it's just in the F tier. Probably even worse than the camo skin, because at least then you have something unique that sticks out. This barely sticks out from stock, even though they tried something unique here. I don't think it worked. And next up we have the Scar 20 carbon fiber, and it's got a similar weird problem. It has a 0.03 float, so it should look really nice, but you can see, especially in this lighting, tons of scratches in the front here, tons of scratches in the middle, some scratches along the base, but what's really noticeable is scratches in the middle and front, because that's where you're going to be looking on this weapon. And even on top of that, the design is only applied to this small middle area. For some reason, the rest of the rest of the weapon is kind of left in its stock form. And holy shit, yeah, there's a bunch of scratches down here I didn't even see earlier, which you wouldn't see in game, so that's not bad. But the design is barely applied here. It's very scratched up, despite having a super good condition. And the design itself is just hard to kind of see. They actually brought back carbon fiber later, and it's a lot more noticeable and looks a lot more clean. In this kind of version of it, though, you can barely see the design differing from stock, and it doesn't look very good. You can see it kind of gets compressed here for some reason, and then over here it's super stretched, and it's a whole mess. It seems like a bug skin almost, even though it's been in the game pretty much since it came out. So I don't know. I must say it's better, a little bit better than stock, maybe, debatably. I think realistically, it basically is stock. So just treat this thing as if this is stock, These weapons here are worse than stock. These are slightly better. Not by much, though. They're still in the F tier for a reason. I would never consider picking them up. Next up, we have the Mag 7 Metallic DD-Pat, which uses that same DD-Pat design, but instead of any particular color, it uses like a metallic shine, which actually ends up looking pretty cool, because you can see the inside here shines at a different period, right? It's shining like here, and then when that's not shining, the rest of the weapon skin is. So it's actually kind of a very unique thing I don't see too often, where they use the lighting to its advantage. And the DD-Pat design isn't great, but this one actually doesn't show too much of it. It's kind of like weirdly big for the DD-Pat design, so that's pretty cool. And all the scratches that I can see are very well hidden in this kind of grip here, which already has like a grid pattern on it, which makes it hard to see those scratches that are there. I guess on the back side, there's some very noticeable ones here, but on the front, you can only really see them toward the front, which honestly looks like it'd be part of the design. And the actual design is pretty cool, especially for being super early. It works very well with the lighting, forms a pretty unique skin. It looks a little bit better than stock. And I might consider like slightly picking this one up over a lot of the other ones, so I'll put it below the Dual Bros Colony in the D tier. And next up, we have our P250 Metallic DD-Pad, which tries the same thing, kind of fails. Like you can see the lighting's affecting everything at the same time, which almost makes it look like stock in pretty much every lighting. I'm gonna put this one in the F tier. It doesn't have, I guess the Mag 7 being spaced out really helps a lot, but this is basically just a slight, probably downgrade from stock because the design's super uninspired. Next up we have the Mac 10 Candy Apple. Very clean skin. Basically cleaned up any scratches or anything the stock had, and then added this nice just red coat of paint to the middle. I'm a real big fan of simplicity, and the nice bright color red looks great. You can't really go wrong with this one. Looks really solid. Probably gonna put this in the B tier. You really just can't go wrong with it. I think it's the first skin on here that I would not mind picking up, especially with its price range of 20 to 30 cents. Next up, we have the M4A4 Urban DD-Pet, which has the same black and white color scheme, but it's less on the design. So this is a bit of a bad fact news. So this big scratch here is kind of excusable. But it's kind of nice how most of the design doesn't use the Urban DD-Pet, which was the complaint I had before. But instead of that, it made the front white, the handle white, the back white, and then the middle has that stupid DD-Pad design, which I don't think looks too great. But at least it's all kind of compressed in one space, and the rest of the weapon got a very clean finish applied to it. I really like just, coloring weapons white. I think they look great that way. Like the whiteout's one of my favorite skins of all time, so that should be a clear indicator. And otherwise, I mean, yeah, middle's super uninspired, but it's got a clean white outer finish, so I'll probably put this in top of C tier. I think it looks a bit better than the Nova. Nowhere near as clean as the Candy Apple, though. I can't realistically put it there. Next up, we have our first mil spec, the Sawed-Off Amber Fade, which is a stock sawed-off that has the back replaced with a amber fade kind of finish. Yeah. A lot of people, myself included, prefer like a normal fade to the amber fade, and despite this being a relatively decent fact new one, there's a ton of noticeable scratches all over the front, the middle, the bottom, the back, just the entire weapon pretty much, other than the top part. Oh, even in the top part, I guess, on the back. But yeah, it doesn't look great. Basically a stock, maybe it's slightly better than stock, because I guess the amber fade design is a little bit better than just a default black, but like, not by much. And for being the one of two blues in this collection, it's not much better than stock. So, like I said, this G3 is basically stock, so the amber fade goes right there. Yeah. Next up, we have the Deagle Urban Rubble, which is interesting, I guess. It's another basic camo design, but it has a very unique color scheme as far as those camos go, where it goes with a very clear gray and black. There's a tiny bit of white in this particular pattern, but that probably changes based on the pattern. But this pattern is mainly kind of a metallic kind of finish, like gray and black is kind of metallic, which goes well with the Urban Rubble. And I think having that gray finish makes it blend in a lot more with the maps than a white finish. It looks a little bit more clean, but then again, these camo skins don't really look that great, so I'm gonna have to keep it pretty low. Probably bottom D tier. And then our final skin is the Tec-9 Red Quartz, which is basically stock Tec-9 with a copper wiring finish on the top. Doesn't look too great, so can't really put that too high, but I'll put in the A tier. Don't think anything in this collection really deserved an S tier. It's kind of very primitive and basic, and the two like mediocre designs are mediocre. Like a better words. I actually might rearrange this. I think the candy apple is the best looking one, but it's still definitely not an S tier skin. It's just pretty nice. And then, the red quartz isn't horrible. Like you can see here, it's just a upgrade from stock definitely, but it doesn't really apply to the whole skin, so can't put it too high. And, yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.